cover your expenses and keep yourself paid. Like your salary plus any expenses in the business, at least have that in MRR. Because if you have that, then for me, there's something there that I got to figure out. Like I had amazing parents, and I think a lot of it is just pressure that I put on myself.
This is you right now judging your experience.
Yeah.
So that's where we have to be careful, is because
You speak so much, so you're better at speaking, just like anything else. You lift a lot, so you look better. It's all the things kind of feed into. It's just reps.
the only way to do all that is to be relentlessly present.
And there was something that happened, I guess there's another podcast where we're going to have to be careful on publishing it. So announcement, just the Bamcast listeners. Welcome to the Bandcast, everybody. We've got, for the third time, I think,
Probably, yeah.
Mr. Jared Hamilton.
What's up, brother? How are you? It's an honor as always.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good. This is always, anytime we get together, I feel like it's a great time, number one. But you just got off another podcast. You went and podcasted with Jordan Syatt.
Yep.
How was that?
It was great. It was kind of crazy because it's such a full, actually, I should have talked about this on the episode, but it's a pretty full circle moment because I remember Jordan was my first business mentor I ever had. It was when I started working with him when I was a personal trainer, trying to take my business online, over 10 years ago at this point. And I remember him and I first talked about, he was like, because it was like a celebrity almost to me.
Yeah.
And now we're just boys. But I remember he was like, yeah, dude, I'll remember when he said, I can't wait till you're making like 10K a month and we're just like hanging out having a beer. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that was like,
You're like, let's be realistic.
that would have been, might as well have been billions of dollars to me. And so, but then fast forward 10 years, like that was, fast forward like 10 years and now like we're here. It's just crazy. So
It is crazy. And we were just talking about you just celebrated your 400th episode of your podcast, Daddy from the Inside Out.
Yep. At 400 episodes deep, which is crazy. That's so much like talking, like,
Yeah.
so.
But it's part of the reason that you have gone to the level of where you've gone is because you have thousands of hours of yourself talking on the internet.
Yeah.
So what have you learned over 400 episodes that you feel like?
So I think the first thing that comes up is make the numbers work in your favor, where like, don't get me wrong. You need to be good. You need to be eloquent. You need to have good communication. You need to solve problems, all that nonsense. But like the numbers have to make sense, as in, I think the statistic is, I think 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3 or something like that. So like, I didn't want to just go like 20 episodes. I wanted the numbers to be so far in my favor that like, it would be unreasonable to think some cool stuff won't happen. And if you think about it, it's like from a countdown, like imagine like if someone said, hey, Jared, hit 400 episodes and this will be your life on the other side. But like everything is like that. If we had a client like, hey, after 1,000 workouts, you will look like this. After 1,000 days of being in a calorie deficit, you'll look like this. Or 1,000 posts on Instagram. Like I've got mid 4,000 Instagram posts right now. But so if you would say, hey, Jared, as soon as you hit 4,000 posts, this is going to be your life. I've almost kind of tried to think of it that way. So just making the numbers make sense, but then just constantly like working on your craft, but you can't get better at your craft without those numbers either. So
yeah, it's funny. Kins and I were talking about last night. We've been going to this church group, and it's at our kind of like local church, and we're doing the marriage version of it. And she was talking about, so she has the opposite thing that you probably have, kind of what I have, but whenever
just
there's
amazing good looks,
exactly that too. But whenever there's an awkward silence, do you feel like a welling up of like, I got to break this, I got to say something? Or do you feel like I'm not going to be the one to break that?
So I'm actually very neutral. Old Jared, yes. I was actually taught as a child, there should be no silence. So like if you're like driving, let's say 30 minutes away and like you and the wife aren't really saying anything or whoever, I was literally taught like that's a problem. Yeah. But I've been married for around 11 years and my wife is a very, very quiet individual, best human I have ever known, but it has also taught me that like there's also beauty in silence. So I could actually take it either way. I'm like, if it's quiet, like I'm totally okay not saying anything, but I also have no problem like kicking that door in and being the first one like to break the silence. Or like if there's a pitch-in style dinner and no one wants to be the first, I'm like, I have no shame. Like, okay. So I view it the same way.
So during, I mean, we're all sitting in kind of like a circle. It's a traditional like life group type of setup. And it keeps coming back to they'll ask a question, and then where a big emphasis on it is let everybody talk. So there's going to be some people that want to talk. There's going to be some people that don't, but everybody needs a chance. So don't nobody dominate.
Mhm.
And so I'm sharing a bunch at the beginning, and I'm trying to let other people talk from there. But every time there's an awkward silence where it's like, who's going to speak next? And people don't want to speak. Inside of me is like, I can say something. Should I break it? And inside of her is just like, okay, well, that was too long. I'm not speaking now. For sure, I'm not breaking this. And so we were talking, she was talking about, I just wish I had what you have. You can just speak and not dumb things come out of your mouth. And I'm like, well, that's pretty debatable for number one. But I was like, I don't know if you understand, I've done thousands of, I talk every single day from 8 a.m. until 6 or 7 p.m. typically. So I just speak a lot more than you.
And to further that, it's not scripted. It is organic conversations of whatever is coming up with clients or whatever. So
yeah. So all that to say is I'm relating it to what you're talking about with repetition of it's impossible to not get better at something if you just do it a lot. And so she was talking about the same thing. She was like, yeah, it makes sense of, you speak so much, so you're better at speaking, just like anything else. You lift a lot, so you look better. You eat really clean, so you look. It's all the things kind of feed into. It's just reps at the end of the day. The best speaker that I know is Michael Smoke, and he talked about how whenever he was getting started, he did a ton very intentionally at the very beginning. He would post, first of all, 10 videos a day on TikTok just to get reps in. But he would record the video, then he would just watch the video, or he would listen to it with no visual. Yep. And he would record every time he says or right or okay or and stutters. And then he would watch the video with no volume to see, does this guy look like knows what he's talking about? Does he look confident? Does he look convicted? Am I interested in what he's about to say next, or what he's even talking about? Do I want to unmute and listen to what he's got? And he was doing that with 10 videos a day, and then also having the discipline to, after critiquing the crap out of what he just recorded, post it anyway, because that's a rep, putting it out there. So, and he did that he's got 4 million people in his audience, and one of the top podcasts in the world.
Not to even mention, with him in particular, he has literally his college background is in public speaking and all that stuff, which is it's one of those things where this is why we have to be careful comparing. I could easily get trapped in my head comparing myself to Smoke, because I would like to be that eloquent. I would like to be on a better level. But if we compare reps to reps, I have a lot, but nowhere near as many as Michael. Michael probably has my reps in his first year of college, let alone that plus everything else. So
that's true. Well, I think you're right on the statistics of 97% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3. 99% of podcasts don't make it past episode 21. I don't even know what that percentage would be getting to episode 400. What have you learned about not only just yourself in terms of getting better in the craft and everything, but about podcasting? I'm curious from a technical perspective. What does this process look like for you now with booking guests and coming up with stuff to talk about?
So it's so interesting. Some of the podcasts that I still get the most feedback on are some of my in my opinion, my worst. Where this is why I think when people are for me, it's the fact that just putting it out there with good intention is not that skill doesn't matter, and intention and lighting and all this other stuff, but it's crazy what just communication of a message is. So I think making that the gold standard, or that the main driver of it, is for in general. But one of the biggest things that I try to do, especially when I'm doing interviews, I stole this years ago. I heard it. I've always wanted to try to think how to word this. I've always kind of thought this, but I've never heard it put into a sentence that I go, that is it. It's this. I stole it from Eli Wild. Do you know who Eli Wild is? So it's for those that don't know, it's he was Tony Robbins' head salesperson. He has a statement he uses. He always says, with anything, high intention, low attachment. So. And I because I always struggle with the battle between having such an intention or of a goal, it's almost too much, versus being totally vibing, free balling it, where there's really, it lacks structure. Whereas especially when I'm interviewing a guest, because one of my favorite things is just unbiased, organic, good conversation. So whenever I have an interview with someone, I try to make it that. But if you think about the best conversations ever, like fly on the wall in a coffee shop, that's what they are. There's not an outcome that they're trying to get. There may be a point of like, hey, I wanted to talk to you about this, or we're talking about this thing going on. So whenever I go to do interviews or even a message, like a solo episode, I have an intention that I want to talk about, or like when I'm interviewing someone, an intention, but I'm not so attached and married to that that I ignore the magic that's in the room right now. Like I cannot tell you how many episodes I've done that are solo that I just got in a flow around something. It is just magic pouring out of my mouth. It's like, I joke and I'm just like, it's not me speaking. It is something better and bigger that's working through me. And I don't want to get my ego to get in the way of that. It's the same thing with like some of the best interviews I've had. I had ideas and questions but they may have said something and I heard it and I go, we're staying on that and let's lean into that. And I almost say, screw my notes. So I think part of it for me is being of the belief of everything should be high intention, where you're prepared, you understand what you're wanting to talk about, but not being so married and attached where you ignore the magic that's in the room. So,
yeah. One way that I heard Chris Williamson talk about Joe Rogan's podcast, he said his theory around it was Joe is just a great podcaster is mainly just a vibe architect. And I thought that was such a creative way to phrase it.
He'll start saying that when people are like, what do you do? I'm a vibe architect.
I'm a vibe architect, yeah. It sounds like a cool job description. As AI takes over everything, I think that might be a pretty good job to jump into. But how he was describing it is, you notice when you listen to somebody like Chris Williamson, or like there is no hang up on a complete switch of any type of topic. It's like, I'm going to guide, because like you said, I know where I want to end up. I know a few things that I want out of this conversation, but I'm not married to how we get there. We could go down this complete left rabbit hole because somebody said something I wasn't expecting early, and that's not going to ruin my complete flow of the conversation. I'm going to go down this path, and all I got to do is make sure that I guide somebody back to where we want to end up. So I think that's what I'm hearing from you is you really do have to be that vibe architect. Be able to think on your feet and converse and still get an outcome from something, but don't be so married to the journey that you ruin the flow of the conversation.
I think an even simpler way to put that is just you're present. I think the only way to do all that is to be relentlessly present, not so focused on, well, what's next coming out of my mouth. Like if I'm waiting for you to shut up and not talk so I can say my next piece, I'm not present with what you are saying. Is being totally present where there's no more important place in this world to be than the conversation we're in, not 3 bullets down on my notes, not whatever. And it's how we can, if you think about how we can listen, is because you're present with what's coming out of their mouth and where you're at in the conversation. I think where I know if I look at myself in the mirror through myself, when I get off is when I'm not present. I'm thinking about what's the audience thinking right now? What should I say after this? What do I say so there's not an awkward, it's on anywhere but right here. So
you know your audience, I think, better than anybody else in the industry, maybe a majority of any other podcast creator, business owner out there, honestly. How did you get to know that person on such an intimate level?
A lot of it's something a friend of mine says that is one of the most underrated hacks ever for business is spend more time with your clients and like just have more conversations. I'm also more obsessed with, I have a desire to understand what drives them deeply. I'm already like a psychology junkie. So for me, it makes more sense to know like not just what they do, but what they think, what they feel, and what comes before all of that. What they experience, all of those things. But it also goes back to that, even the podcast interview stuff, it's being present with them and understanding what's actually driving their behavior. Like before they fall off and they say, oh, I'm not consistent. Cool. Why aren't they consistent? Well, what happened there? Well, what were their thoughts before the action started? What was the identity that lives unconsciously in that person from the moment that they wake up before their day even starts? So for me, it's just, I've always had this obsession with like, what's deeper? And I think that just follows suit here with clients. But I also believe the only way to truly serve somebody, forget like business scaling, the only way to actually serve someone is to understand what drives them. Like if I can't understand what's going on with them, I mean, yeah, I can give some habits. I can give some like, cool, start this, stop this. But if I don't know what actually drives that person, I can't help them. I can't remember who said it, but it was, who was it? Was it, I think maybe another Tony Robbins thing, but it was you can't, influence someone until you know what influences them.
Yeah.
And this sounds so basic, but for me, it was just actually giving a damn and going deep and trying to understand them. I think most coaches in the space are more thought of thinking of like, how do I get, or what do I get from them? Like, I need the clothes, I need the business, I need this. And that all is, it's an and conversation, it's not or, and those are all important. But part of that is actually understanding and taking time and spending what actually drives them. And most people don't do that.
So in action, that looks like talking to your clients more. Are you through as you're gaining this information? Are you polling them and stuff?
It's a lot. Number one, like we do have client satisfaction surveys that go out. So like the clients that are in the program around other stuff. So we do have like those kind of things go out. But I also look at not just what they say, but how they say it and how they word it and what they mean when they say it. So for example, one of the ways that I get copy for what to post about or hooks or whatever, is I look at my intake forms. The way someone, like I started using the term, like with my client base, I want to be normal around food. I would never have said that. I would say silence food noise, feeling control around all this stuff. There, the exact phrase, I just wish I could be normal around food. That came from all the people I work with's mouths. And I go, oh, this is brought up like every sales call or every intake form where they're applying to join the program is mentioned. I just want to feel normal around food. They judge it. They go, I know this sounds stupid, but I just want to be normal around food. So there's now even insecurity around it. So now you'll see hooks where I go, if you want to lose 30 pounds and be normal around food, or if you're tired of not feeling normal around food, or if all you just want to do is feel normal around food, it resonates instantly because I'm literally using the words that they're using from the desires that they communicate that they want. So it's everything from surveys to how they fill out intake forms to the exact conversations we have. Zoom meetings, the whole works. It's every word that comes out of their mouth is I view as very valuable data.
And I think there's going to be people that, for the most part, the listeners of my podcast are business owners or other coaches. So I think that they'll see the utility in what you're talking about. But there will also be some people that listen to that and they think, oh, well, it's a manipulation thing. And I want to counter that and just handle it right now. Jared reaches the amount of people that he reaches and helps them in the way that he's able to help them as deep as he's able to go with them because he knows so much on a psychological level.
Well, I would argue that if someone views that as manipulation, how is coaching not? You are literally changing their behavior to give them a desired outcome that they can't get on their own. Or all sales and hooks and copywriting is all the highest level of communication. Like to the person who thinks that, I would also say, so do you talk to your grandma different than you talk to your mom versus talking to the boys?
Yeah.
I can tell you, I would never swear at my grandma's house. I might swear a little bit at my mom's house. There's certain words I won't say. I try not to say like fuck or other stuff, but I don't want to just make this a big swear fest, but I might let damn or damn slip because I know that one doesn't bother her as much. But if I started dropping MF and F this and GD, any of that stuff, I know that would really bother her. With the fellas, I don't care. Like I'll drop all of that without a second thought. So how is that not manipulative?
Yeah.
It's a conversation of communication at a high level to reach the person and impact them in the way that they want. It's the same thing. Like every dad I know to get their 3-year-old to tie their shoes on, you're like, hey, you can't go outside until you put your shoes on. Oh, you can't do this until we put that away. So influence, yes, you could look at it through a negative lens and say that's manipulation, or it's leadership, or it's high levels of communication.
And that's what I want to get across is you have to go that deep in order to impact someone on the deepest possible level.
Yeah.
And it's no different than, you also can charge more whenever you understand your people to that type of level, right?
Because you can get better results.
Exactly. So I want to just kind of handle that up front, but I also want to talk about, Felicity and I were talking before you got here of, she was like, Jared's just so easygoing. She was like, we had a call the other day, or I think I set her up with you about ATMs or something. She said, we had a call with him the other day. And he was just kind of like, yeah, cool, understand it. And it was like, whenever I was asking whenever he wanted to get on the call, he was just kind of like, whenever, you just let me know. And I was like, that's because he runs one of the most profitable businesses on the platform. And when you run a business in the way that he runs it, you don't have a lot of stress, right? Talk about the type of business that you had built up and the type of business that you burned down and what your philosophy is now and what you're building.
So there's a couple things. Number one, the actual system and structure of the business is one thing, but then also the you bring to it is different as well, because wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
So I could have the most chill, cool, calm, and collected business there is, but if I'm a hothead, if I'm emotionally dysregulated, if I internalize every little thing and I catastrophize, I could have the coolest business ever. But then, oh, I didn't get any followers this week on Instagram. Life is over. Oh my gosh. So I think the two things is that have shifted for me over the years is, number one is I'm a different Jared in this chair, because I'll be really, really honest. Right now, this month has been one of the slowest months I've had. In terms of in terms of client acquisition, in terms of lead flow, in terms of like the key metrics that we measure. And I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually chatting with my wife and a mentor about this the other day, where like historically I would be panicking. Historically, I would be like taking this as a personal jab about me. Like, oh, this is a reflection because I suck, because I'm not good enough, because maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Oh, I'm terrible. Or I would have action that is very emotionally charged, like reactive, like, oh, I got to go get leads now. I've got to go in this almost panic urgency. I have never been this emotionally regulated around this stuff ever. And I almost feel like it's being tested. Like, cool, let's make sure. Where, because I truly believe like it all works out just fine. And I've been doing so much work around this myself. So then my reactions and patterns change to it, is because I'm bringing a regulated person to all of these situations. Like it's actually my wrist tattoos. On my right wrist it says ambition, on my left wrist it says equanimity, because for me I have a tendency to oscillate to one extreme or the other. I'm either psychopath ambition, where I will run through a brick wall and shut down every emotion and do whatever it takes and force things to happen, or actually, to be honest, or have zero equanimity in my life, where emotional neutrality, calm within the storm, whatever you want to call it, caring but not caring. Whereas I believe the magic is like, if both of these are on a Venn diagram, the magic is in the middle, where it's a conversation of and. Can you be ambitious and equanimous? Can you have high intentions but low attachment? And I feel like I'm in the place in my life where I have the most harmony with both of those. So then I bring those everywhere. When there's a staff issue, if there's an upset client issue, if there's a UTM thing I need help with, or whatever's happening. So I believe part of it is, number one is the version of me that is present in all of these moments. Because if you think about when chaos is happening, if you go to the ER, do you want a doctor that's like, oh my gosh, or whatever? Or do you want the doctor that's like, okay, yeah, I know you're dying, but it's fine. I'll fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing I want even if things aren't going so well, because that's how business goes sometimes, I don't want to be my internal state dictated by my external environment. So there's that part is number one. Now, to answer your question about what are some of the differences is everything.
Mm-hmm.
The business I ran before I didn't always feel a total alignment with how it was. I did it because I was told this is the way to do it, even though parts of me were like, I don't know about that. So whereas before, I was running a completely, like we were talking off camera about, a completely paid in full model, which I know some people love it. I personally didn't like the pressure around it. And when it comes to running completely paid in full, I hated starting over at every month at zero. I hated having almost like, it's not fake money, but it's also not fully contextual. Like, for
example, it's not realized money yet.
It's like, okay, for example, if like, let's say you run whatever, and you have a huge amount of top line in your revenue that month. Let's say you make $100,000, but all those were 12-month paid in fulls off of, let's say, a scholarship. That's awesome. That is amazing, but you better have good bookkeeping. You better understand that money has to pay your contractors for the next year. So like, yes, there's 100 racks in your bank account, but it's not like liquid it's
actually 8,300 this month, and then 80 next month.
Like for example, when I hit my first 6-figure month off of the exact scenario I described, paid in full, off a scholarship, all that had a very different feeling inside versus when I first had $100,000 in a bank account, all liquid.
Mm-hmm.
Two different. One is like, oh yeah, that's all there. It's all mine. And it's just sitting in that bank account, versus like I hit $100,000 this month, but that's all like, literally I have to pay. That's all this money going out for the next year. That's all of these other things where I had to be very, very specific with bookkeeping and where I'm putting stuff and all that. So part of it is understanding those things. Whereas I just didn't like the volatility of it. I also would not have found of the things to fix in my business if I didn't have a monthly reoccurring model. Because right now, currently, I run a predominantly MRR model where clients are paying monthly. It's not like on a payment plan. It is I mean, some might argue it's a payment plan, but it is a sign up. It's this many months for a minimum of many months. But if like someone can't afford it, I'm not, okay, we're not your fit. I rarely would ever do something like Affirm or do a payment plan based off that, because I want this also to be the vibe of people that just sees this as their regular bills coming out. And then also I just want my MRR built through the roof. But this also shows me where the holes are at in my business. For example, when I was running just completely paid in fulls, there's holes in my business I did not see. So it made sense when by the time someone came around to resigns were low. But I could never figure out why, because we didn't know at what point in this chain did it happen, because they paid for a year in full or 6 months in full. Whereas now we are so refined on our churn process, where as soon as like if all of a sudden at month 2.5, people start trying to cancel, something needs fixed there. Or if all of a sudden what we're seeing now is we've made all these changes, and in the last 6 months, one person has canceled and they shouldn't have joined in to begin with. I should not have accepted them. But in the last 6 months, one person has canceled out of all the clients we've enrolled. So that tells me all of our processes are good. So let's keep that going. But I'm curious to see what comes out month 6 through 12. So like if all of a sudden month 6 churn plummets or skyrockets and people start or don't want to continue, I need to look at what happened. Was there a messaging issue? Was there an expectation issue? Was there a touch point that should have been there? Or if let's say things 6, 7, 8 are good, but month 9, everyone's like trying to cancel. I would not know any of this if I was just cranking out paid in fulls the whole time either. So there's a lot of differences there. But then the other big difference is I'm not running an assistant coach model anymore. I have a team. I have a very small, lean team, but the whole fulfillment is different versus each of these coaches having their own roster of clients. They're getting this huge part of the margin. So the whole fulfillment is different.
Yeah. You burned down, we had 3 or 4 people from similar containers at around the same time as you completely burned down the massive assistant coach model. And while I still see that model work for some people, it seems like people are now optimizing more for the profit, the enjoyment, the MRR. And we talked about some of the containers that are maybe more ads focused. There's a lot of pushing for MRR there because you need it in order to pull revenue forward, in order to spend more on ads, in order to have these massive months and be able to forecast out ad spend for the next month, the next month, the next month, and be able to force in the containers as well. Like everybody being honest. I think we built our business the way that we built it. Number one, it's a little bit easier in software to kind of say, hey, it's a subscription. That's what we do. But we have seen many a coach have the crazy 100K month and then do 10K next month and then panic about how to keep the lights on. And it's like, that is just not an enjoyable. Everyone gets onto us because we always push, hey, build up your MRR.
At least if you're if you're going to run a paid in full, you need at least your MRR to keep the lights on.
Yes.
Like that way you're not
cover all your expenses and ideally cover your expenses and keep yourself paid. Like your salary plus any expenses in the business, at least have that in MRR. Because if you have that, then if you go on vacation for the month, at least lights stay on, you got paid the amount that you expected to get paid. And that's a whole lot more sustainable of a business model to stay in what you're talking about, the mindset that you've been able to stay in, where it doesn't feel like these massive ups and downs and panics. And like, if you're not smart, you'll go buy, a sports car, which we've seen many coaches do. They'll go buy a sports car because they had a crazy month and then end up 2 or 3 months down the road because it's not a consistent cash flow. They're like having to take the sports car back or trade it out. Or
literally when I got my Corvette, 3 years ago, I literally went to like the guy that helps me with like wealth management, and he's like, I'm like, are you sure? And he goes, brother, like, it's okay. You can, I'm like, I don't know. He goes, it's fine. Just, you're good. Like, but because I've always been so worried about that. Whereas, but I see the same thing as one huge month and they like, got to go get my rollie or whatever. So
yeah. How did you, I want to hang out on the changes that you've made, like the old version of Jared you talked about. I know you do a lot of therapy. You're really into just like seeing somebody else, kind of, whether it's couples therapy or just therapy on your. I know you've been working with more of or last time we talked, you've been working with more of like a harsh person to kind of push back with you. Is that the work that has resulted in you feeling more equanimous in what you're doing and
Um,
confident and calm?
it's one of the spokes in the tire. Because like I still go to therapy. It's not anything crazy. Like I go maybe once every 6 to 8 weeks now.
Okay.
It's more of just like a little check. I mean, honestly, I think most business owners should, with the amount of stress. And
I need it.
I mean, to be honest,
I've told you that 3 times now.
yeah, I mean, here's to be honest, the half of the reason most people, I will say this, it's me, you got into therapy was because of your darkness. Or no, I'm sorry, you got into business was because of your darkness. Oh, I wasn't enough growing up, so I'm gonna prove to my dad I am. Or I saw my family go bankrupt, and actually, case in point, I saw my family go bankrupt, we lose everything, and all of a sudden my dad was not able to fulfill, and so like I'm never gonna let that happen. Cool. That's awesome to start, but that is not sustainable, and you got some shit to work through, because otherwise, if you don't heal through that, like you're literally bringing that into the business.
Yeah.
So I think anyone that's remotely entrepreneurial should go work some their shit out. But I lead from the front with that. I still go to this day. But as far as some of the work that's gone on, is a lot of it is emotional. If I had to break it down, it would be the emotional side of things, like being able to actively regulate your emotions and not let them run you, or you create internalizations of them. I would say there's a level of, for me, it's been also inner child work because of a lot of the stuff I had to deal with when I was a kid. And there's like the old saying, I don't know if it's a biblical quote or not, but it's to heal the man, you must heal the little boy. To heal the woman, you must heal the little girl. Because most of the time, people's childhood things that are going on is what's actually running the show, because it feels similar. Like if you got abandoned when you were a kid and all of a sudden now you're in business and your client no shows on you, it feels similar.
Yeah.
Like the abandonment, it's like, oh, that must not be good enough. Like whatever it may be, it scales. It's like if you can't keep your car clean, but you're like, I'll buy a house and it'll be clean. No, that will come. That trait will come with you. It's the same thing with our trauma or our stuff going on. So I would say there's those two, and then actually the one that was most new to me, that kind of in the same lines, is the therapist I've worked with. Actually, is a big EMDR person, and that is a different animal.
See, I've never done EMDR, but I've heard a lot of people get a lot of really good stuff from it.
It's I still don't fully get how it works. It just does. But EMDR, the way I understand it, basically allows you to process through all these things like so much faster, because I don't know, I can't remember what EMDR stands for, but it's like the light bar where you're watching the light move.
Okay. Isn't it eye movement something?
Probably. It's because you're basically on watching a light move on a horizontal bar, where essentially like your brain can't guard and watch the light at the same time. It's like, look here while I pickpocket you. It's like the concept. And we've actually worked through a lot where I'm like, this is so stupid. Why am I crying right now? Like it's crazy. And there's been stuff that I found out that I'd been like pushing down, like, to be really honest with you, like, and I think this is where it's helped a lot, so I had some stuff growing up when I was little where like working with my dad when I was like 13, nothing was ever good enough. I have all these specific memories of like this internalization that was grabbed at this location, like being berated about a drywall job that wasn't done right. And then like I have a hard time not judging myself for that, because like you should have known, but like I was 13. But then like all these single things I was putting in my head. But then through EMDR, what was coming up, because we would get like zoned in on like that specific memory, and then see what would come up. And what would come up was like, he didn't deserve that. Like little Jared didn't deserve that. And then I go, oh, where's this compassion been? Like, and then she'd be like, cool, let's go back in. And I'd be going back to it. But then the next thing I would come up is I don't deserve how I treat myself now. I'm like, whoa, hang on. Like, then we go back in. Oh, you're treating yourself now, present day in business, like your dad treated you when you were 13. I'm like, holy shit. Like what? Hang on. Like, so there's been a lot of those kind of things that's come up. And then you have the space to feel and heal through it and all that stuff. So between a lot of like those kind of things has been really helpful. But then the hardest one is it's like I work with clients on, is when you are rewiring your own patterns, because you may consciously and logically know something, but your body and nervous system know something else. The example I like to give is those, like I have 3 dogs, 2 of which are pit bulls. If someone, let's say every time, like, so you've heard me talk about my dogs. They're great. Like I love my dogs. They're all like, I would have no problem with you coming over and my dog's like rushing you, because they're great. But if every time you've been encountered a pit bull, you got bit, that logic wouldn't matter. If you have childhood memories of you getting bit by pit bulls, and every time, even as an adult, you've gone to a pit bull, you've gotten bit, it's snarled at you, your nervous system will take a snapshot and go, pit bulls aren't safe. So you come over to my house and my pit bulls are like, let's go see Baker. You may go, he says they're fine, but your blood pressure will be up.
freaking out,
You're internally like, I don't know, you don't feel safe because your logical mind and your nervous system doesn't know the difference. So for me, a lot of this has been like when I went to overwork because I'm freaking out about like leads being low or sales being down or whatever, actually choosing to go, no, I'm going to go regulate instead. That sounds like the dumbest thing to do when like money's low and like, no, I need to go journal. It feels completely ass backwards, but if I just give it and enable the old pattern, it's going to continue going on. It's like we see with our nutrition clients. If the more they restrict, the more they binge. And then the more they binge, the more they restrict. And the more they restrict, the more they binge. So if the pattern feeds itself, most of the patterns that we run are on autopilot and feed themselves. So if I catastrophize, freak out, and make it a personal matter, so I go execute harder, then like, oh, okay, numbers came up, I feel better now. So that just feeds it. So then the next time it happens, it's going to go back down again. So part of it has been being really self-aware of the patterns that are coming up for me and then handling and dealing with them appropriately in real time. And over time, it's taught my own nervous system. I am my own source of safety, not revenue, not leads, not, well, I'm good if the business is good, but if the business is doing what business does, I'm a wreck that's making it personal, pervasive, and permanent. So.
Yeah, I have so many things that I need to, I think, work through. The only thing that I've had similar to what you described with the EMDR is in breath work. Inevitably, every time I do breath work, I end up, well, Brandon Grew is the one I've done it with a few times, and he does a lot of inner child stuff, and he's bringing up in like his prompts and everything, and kind of like the journey that he's taking you through. And that just slices through me every single time. Like he had this one prompt that was basically look at, the 12-year-old version of you. And I immediately, when he said that, I just started like crying. I didn't even know why. And then he said, tell that version of you that you're proud of him. And like, you did it. And I start bawling. It's like, okay, well, now be the 12-year-old version of you and tell you now that, wow, like, I can't believe that I'm going to become, and I just lost it.
Yeah.
And so for me, that there's something there that I got to figure out. It's not like I had amazing parents and there wasn't anything like, I think a lot of it is just pressure that I put on myself.
So I want to pause just so I can say this. This is you right now judging your experience.
Yeah.
So that's where we have to be careful, is because it's easy for people who have stuff coming up to go, wait, no, I had a good, you did. And that's awesome. But that doesn't negate the fact that you have an experience going on over here. And it's also not a diss to them at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's easy. That's where you have to be careful is whenever going through that, it's like we start to judge it. And when we judge it, the ego comes in. And when the ego comes in, it's like, whatever. Like God can't come in or these other things because you're getting back into survival. So. Yeah.
And there was something that happened, I guess there's another podcast where we're going to have to be careful on publishing it. I just want to talk about it. But
Run it.
Yeah. So announcement for everybody that's just a Bamcast listener. Kenzie and I are pregnant. 14 weeks as of Tuesday when we're filming this. So yesterday. But super excited about that. And I have been in full on like stress, anxiety mode ever since I found out. Because I'm finding out that I have a major like control issue. Like there's nothing that you get into all the statistics around things and, the different milestones you got to make to be safer. And then you're like extra safe if you make it to this milestone. And then they're doing tests and they're doing sonograms and they're listening for heartbeats and all of these things. And I have just been like, I've been more anxious the past, we found out at 4 weeks, so 10 weeks, than at the height of building AR.
Of course.
And I've been really trying to work through, for me, a lot of it's been spiritual. Of course. And trying to just give a lot of that stuff to God, because ultimately it's in his from what I believe, it's in his ballpark anyways. But I've been extremely anxious with all of that. And I had kind of last week I went home and I just kind of had like a freak out. And it's a weird catch-22 because it doesn't feel right as a man to go to Kenzie, the person that we need to keep stress off of right now, because she's pregnant. We can't go stress her out and dump all my problems and all the things I'm worried about, which are mainly about her being pregnant, because then if she gets stressed out or starts worrying about it, that can be a whole thing in and of itself. So I'm like trying to, I can't talk to a ton of people because we haven't like announced it and everything. So I'm like trying to self-regulate all these things. And really what that ends up meaning in my is just like, we're just keeping it in. We're just dealing with it. We're just shouldering it. And what ended up like boiling over last week was me coming to her finally and saying, hey, I am freaking out. Like I'm panicking and I can't do this that's not on my control and this that's not, we're trying to get our house done and it's not, I can't control the speed of getting the house done. It's not on me. You know, we've got crews coming in and out. We've got decisions that have to be made. Some of them have to be made by her. I have to, you know, and so I can't do anything on that front. And then on the baby front, I can't make time speed up and I can't, you know, there's so many things that she just has to be doing, whether that's eating a certain way or making sure she's exercising or certain vitamins. Like I can't force her to do all the things and she's doing all the things, but like I can't monitor and like, hey, these are the things you got to do to be okay today and make sure we're all good. And so there's so many things that are out of my control right now. And what I'm finding out is I have a major issue that I'm trying to work through with control and needing to feel productive. So whenever I really kind of took time, and for me, it was funny enough, hanging drywall last week, I was kind of like, hey, I got to take a time out from this conversation and just let's revisit it in a couple of hours. Because she wasn't quite understanding. I was coming into the conversation heated, not at her, but from a perspective of just like, I am so up here right now. Like I need a dump and I don't know what to do with this. And so I ended up hanging some drywall and downstairs. And as I was kind of thinking more and more about it, what I was coming to was I have an incessant need to be productive. Like we make every employee here take a StrengthsFinder 2.0 test, which is from Gallup Strengths, or I think it's called Gallup Strengths, but it's called StrengthsFinder 2.0. My number one is achiever. And where I've seen that, it's great because we're going to make sure stuff's done if it's being led by me. I'm not going to sit out and, you know, hold useless meetings. I'm not going to ask you for something that doesn't need to be done by you. I'm not just going to have you talk to me about stuff that's not important. I need to be accomplishing things. The bad part is like, I can't stop in the middle of something. Take working on the house, for example. I can't stop in the middle of something and be okay with that. Like I can't hang half of a room of drywall and just be done. I don't care what time of night it is. I've got to finish the room. Because I'm like, I could just hang one more piece. Well, I could hang one more piece. Well, I'm almost done. I could just finish this room and then I'll feel completely good and I can go to sleep. I can't stop in the middle of stuff. And I think it's also along the same lines of what I'm freaking out about right now is there's nothing, all these things that I'm anxious about, there's nothing I can do to progress any of them. So I had to come back to Kinsey and say, hey, you didn't deserve me, you know, being upset and coming into this conversation from like a manic perspective because you didn't know any of this was going on because I've tried to shield you from this. But what I need is for you to give me things. Just give me stuff if it needs to be going to do groceries, like get groceries. If it needs to be going to pick up food for you because you have a craving, like if it needs to be me making decisions on the house or doing specific projects around the house, if it needs to be me making you a meal because you don't feel like you're nauseous and it needs to be chores around the house, like just give me things so I can feel productive. My mind will stay off of some of the things that I'm freaking out about, and I'll feel like I'm doing stuff to move the needle forward in a positive manner. And so I don't know why I'm even telling you all of this, but it's kind of it's a thing right now that I'm trying to work through that I know I need to be talking to like a professional about, and maybe other people that have the achiever kind of, you know, fixation like me can kind of identify with that. But it just feels like so much is out of control. I need to have a box I can tick to feel good.
Can I give you a couple perspectives on
Give me everything, dude.
So number one is give yourself some, like, I think it comes up for me first is like you're in uncharted territory. So like it's very reasonable that you're having emotional stuff go little ape shit because you are into an environment that you have never been in before. You are in fatherhood. It's been like, even though yes, you're responsible for your wife too, but like she's also her own person. Like, so she's responsible for her. Now you have a whole nother thing that's like, that is incapable of taking care of it. So like, so you have, and it's also biological. So that's very normal for you to feel that. But then also, nothing makes freaking out and the emotional stress worse than trying to control something that is uncontrollable. It's like, imagine it raining and you go try to stop it. It's like, there's nothing you can do about that. So something that I always think about is like, if something is not like, I can always control how I react to things. I can always control how I respond. I can control my actions, but I can't control a handful of other stuff. Like,
Mhm.
let's say like you can't control the fact that like all that stuff that's going on in her
Yeah.
body. You can't control it, but enabling that and trying to control it or trying to give you perceived control is actually, you have to be careful. It can actually like backfire
Yeah.
because it's giving you perceived control, but you have none.
Mhm.
It's almost like, let's appease the ego for a little bit,
Yeah.
when in reality that's not true. Whereas generally, this is what hit me hard, because I identify a lot with the achiever mentality stuff, is if you are not an achiever, or if you are not achieving or in control, what's it mean about you?
Mm.
And whenever I was posed with that question, it all came down to reliving a lot of the stuff that I experienced. If I'm like not an achiever, then what? Because there's always a thing the ego is afraid of happening. And if you're like identified as a control freak or an achiever, all this cool, asking yourself, what happens if I'm not achieving or in control? And then usually it's some negative thing. It's, well, then we won't make money. Then the baby won't make it, or then whatever. And then what's that mean about you? Well, then what's that mean about you? And you'll get down to it. And its chances are something about like, I will not be good enough. I will not be loved. I will have failed. It's something really, really deep like that. And that's what we need to go.
Yeah.
Because the reality is there is probably a 12-year-old who is feeling that, and it's just scaling to this. Whereas imagine like telling a 12-year-old, like, well, we'll just act like you're in charge, and you would never do that. You would go, hey, this pressure was never yours to carry. Like, you're allowed to be all these different things. So I would look at it through the lens of that. Like, if I was like that's what helped me, and what I've seen in a lot of like therapeutic modalities, where if you ever feel like there's a sense of obligation, I have to do this, it's always the ego trying to shield you from something else of you experiencing. Because if not, what happens?
Yeah.
Or if so, what's it mean about you? Because generally then it's an attack on our own self. Like, it means my dad was right. It means all these things. I found out for me that behind all of this stuff was like, well, then what happens? It was actually like, I'll be like my dad who lost everything. And then I'll be like, and that means I'm not, because when I saw my dad lose everything, I lost respect for him. I lost that belief, and that respect a son has for his father, all this stuff. And I go, I'm going to lose it. Like, if we got down to the core of this, that's what it was. Or an internalization of like, oh, your family will fall apart. Like, for me, whenever my family lost everything, when they went bankrupt, all this, my dad got also outed for cheating. And then my whole family divorced, like the whole 9 yards. But to 12-year-old Jared, if you do not make it happen, everything falls apart.
Yeah.
So, but then, so if we just keep digging this back, that's why it's helpful to talk about this and to like really dig down to it, because there's an inner narrative somewhere underneath it, somewhere that needs addressed. So that's why, like, it may momentarily like give me something to do, but it's not actually fixing what's underneath. So, so.
No, that makes sense. That makes total sense. I mean, even I need to quit talking about it and actually do it. Because all 3 times you've come on, I've said like, I really need to do that. But even you saying that, like, if you weren't an achiever, if you weren't like knocking things out nonstop, who would you be? That just like all the alarm bells inside of me, like heart rate just went up. Like, that just breaks me. What I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm nobody.
Yeah. So like along those same lines, like, but like, let's put this through the lens of a 12-year-old who's like, no, I have to achieve everything or I'm worthless. Like, buddy,
yeah,
well, we need to have a talk,
chill, buddy.
but or there's the part of it, like, this is the part that no one likes to hear. We actually need to give permission to the thing you don't want to have happen. You're allowed to be a nobody. You're allowed to fail. You're allowed, like, imagine like you have a son, which I have this weird feeling that your kid's a boy, but that's aside the point. And I'm usually never wrong with guessing genders. But imagine you have a 7-year-old boy who is like, gonna go play soccer, and like they're petrified that they're gonna lose, and you're gonna like lose all the love you have for him. You would probably say, you're allowed to lose. You're like, I'm gonna love you no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, you're allowed. I want you to go have fun. I want you to win, but like, you're allowed to lose. That's what but you would never tell yourself that.
Mm.
You would never be like, yeah, if you fail the business, it's okay. If you go bankrupt and live like one of these homeless people, like, you'd be okay.
Yeah.
Like, I will still love you. You would, like, I've had a hard time with that, but that's why one of the biggest things I had to give myself permission for is what you would like tell your son, like, you're allowed to fail. It's okay. You would, like, you're allowed to not be an achiever. You're allowed to go broke. You're allowed to, whatever the thing you were scared most of happening, we need to give permission. We're not aiming for it, but you are giving that part of you permission to experience that. Because otherwise, I've seen it happen time and time again. This is what a mentor put in my head earlier on. Whatever we are terrified of happening and we're like trying to avoid it, you'll actually hit it, but on the other side. Like, how many times have we seen people who are like, I hate bullies so much, but they almost become a bully now?
Yeah.
Or like
self-defense mechanism.
Or like, I a big thing is like, I was so like, I do not want to be like my dad. But then the more I'm like, don't be like dad, don't be like dad, don't be like dad, I kind of have some dad tendencies come out.
Yeah.
Like, which is interesting because, but if you think about it, from a neuroscience perspective, your brain doesn't understand the word no or not. It's like in sports, if they go, it's studied, like, if you go, don't miss, don't miss, don't miss, don't miss, don't miss, your brain just hears miss.
Yeah, it's like
miss.
it's like red car theory.
100%.
Yeah.
So like, if I say, don't think about a giraffe with a short stubby neck, we all just thought about giraffes with like itty bitty necks. It's so when you're like, don't lose control, don't lose control, don't lose control, don't be successful, or don't whatever the thing is, your brain is hearing the other thing, and then it's emotionally charged. Napoleon Hill, back when he was alive, says we attract not just the things that we want most, but the things we fear the most, which is terrifying to think about.
Because it's like you have to tell yourself not to be afraid of something.
But then you're saying, bring it to me, bring it to me, bring it to me. But then if you want to get spiritual about it, like from like a relationship with God, that also means you don't trust God. Where like,
which is what I've been trying to work through.
So this is, but there's a term I like to use: with every new level comes a new devil. Yeah. You're at a new level. So now this new devil, this level, this new obstacle is here. It's like, yeah, I trust God. I had a kid. Wow.
This is on me. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait,
right.
You trust him?
Right. But same thing we see in business. People do cool at 10K a month and they go to 20. They're like, I don't know if I can handle leadership. I have to hire staff now. Like it's just another step in your growth, but also it's more of a reason to lean into those things and see what comes up for you and then be with it. So,
yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. And something our pastor has been talking about too is my initial, and it has gotten better since I've started doing this, but my initial thing that I've been trying to do is, he posed a question a few weeks back where he was like, hey, something I want you guys to all go answer for yourselves is, if you were the devil and you were trying to get you, what would you hook you on? Like, what would you use to get to you? And for me, immediately, it's like pride, control. I think that's what I would use to get me. And it would have been just pride until all this stuff has kind of evolved. And now I'm like, okay, control. Thinking that I have any semblance of control is the other side.
So I would actually play devil's advocate, and I would say, I bet those aren't yours, because those are driven from fear and doubt. Because I would go, what if you don't have control? All this bad stuff's going to happen. So it's more of a fear thing. There's a book. It's not like a religious book. If you haven't read it, I'd suggest it. It's actually called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. His family waited to publish it till he was dead because they were like sure it was going to just rock everything. Like, and it's, so are you familiar with the Napoleon Hill concept?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Have you ever?
Someone else told me to read it out.
Have you ever heard of Outwitting the Devil?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Do you understand the premise behind it?
Is he the one that there's that really old clip of him saying, if I were the devil, I would...
No. So what happened was, this is why it just changes your lens.
I've never read the book.
So are you familiar with what the big thing Napoleon Hill did with Think and Grow Rich?
Yes.
So
I've read Think and Grow Rich.
Cool. So for those that are listening that aren't familiar, Napoleon Hill was mentored directly by, I think was it Andrew Carnegie? Yeah, he was mentored by Andrew Carnegie, who was at one point the wealthiest man alive. And Andrew Carnegie said, hey, Napoleon Hill, I'm giving you a quest. I want you to spend the rest of your life interviewing the world's most successful people, Thomas Edison's, Henry Ford's, if he was alive, like the Steve Jobs, those guys. And I want you to write a book called, and then he wrote it called, and it's still to this day, one of the most amazing books ever, called Think and Grow Rich. He also wrote another book called Outwitting the Devil. And because when Napoleon Hill was deep in this interview journey, Napoleon says, I don't know if it actually happened or it was a dream. regardless, the message doesn't change and it doesn't matter. And he wrote a book called Outwitting the Devil because he had an interview with the devil. And the whole the whole concept is, in the same way you and I are having an interview, he had an interview like this with the devil, but he's like, I don't know if it actually happened or if I was in a dream, but it was so real and the premises are so true, it doesn't matter. So he wrote the book on it. And the whole concept behind the book is that he can control, the devil can control anyone and everyone, is because he just uses fear and doubt. He goes, I can literally destroy the entire world. I control 90-something% of the world's population, because I just have to plant doubt and worry, fear, worry, and doubt. And that's what, because if you think about where your control comes in, is because you have fear and worry and doubt.
Yeah.
But if like you didn't have fear, worry, and doubt, you wouldn't have the need to feel in control. Right. So it's such an interesting read. And
same thing with pride. If I didn't doubt that I was capable of this or doubt that I was this, then I would not, there wouldn't be a pride thing. There wouldn't be a need for me to show I'm X, Y, Z.
For sure. So I would definitely check out the book. It's also, it's the audiobook does 2 different narrators too. So you actually hear like my voice, their voice, my voice, their voice. So, but if you think about it though, from an emotional regulation standpoint, if you're feeling fear, worry, or doubt, we need to pause and sit with that and regulate and not make meanings of it or not react from it. And then it helps fix the entire thing. Most people have a trigger, whatever the trigger is, and they feel an emotion. And instead of feeling the emotion and going, oh, that's a messenger that means nothing and what is in needs to come out and I need to regulate and create space for it. Most people go, oh, this is bad. It means this story. I'm not good enough. I have to fix this. If I don't fix this, this is going to happen. And then we react with chaotic energy and action from that state, which is dangerous. So it's like, imagine getting on a sales call or going to a car dealership and the car dealer's anxious is because he has quotas to hit. He's behind. You feel that in your dynamic. So it's the same kind of thing here.
Man. Well, let's shift off of me.
This is my shit, man.
It's good. It's so good and so true. So I really admire you for the amount of just like work that you've done in general on all of this, and I've always looked up to you in that regard of just where you're, and you're Kenzie's like favorite person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like I was telling her, she's working from home today, and I was telling her, I was like, well, you know who's gonna be at the office today? Jared. And she was like, I love Jared so much. I love Jared so much. She always makes sure that she's at Lead Summit the day that you're speaking, or that catches your pod, or like the things like that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, she really loves just how you communicate, the things you communicate about, what you're all about.
That's amazing.
We're both big fans. But I want to talk about from a content perspective. Okay. We're seeing a big, I think, trust recession in terms of, just the trust recession in terms of the consumer and where everything's at and all the crazy things that are just going on in the world. How are you thinking? Because I know you go from a really technical perspective and how you approach your content creation, not just from the podcast, you kind of already talked about that, but even just stuff you're putting out on social and your emails. How are you thinking about creation and content right now in 2026?
To be honest, there's a lot of stuff I used to do that it just isn't working anymore. So for me, step one, or for the first piece, is adapting and looking at like, what's the data show? Like emails weren't converting, time to change those emails. Content whatever content that was converting isn't doing it, or it isn't doing the thing, its job anymore. From the numbers isn't looking good. Change, like I think people marry their system too long. The other thing I'm making sure I'm not doing, and sometimes this flares up with me, like we talked about the whole emotional thing and how emotions are meaningless until we give it a meaning. Sometimes I have to be careful that there's this thing in negative thinking they call the 3 Ps: personal, pervasive, and permanent. And I don't struggle with making things permanent or pervasive, where like, oh, it's always going to be like this, or pervasive, like, oh my gosh, everything's terrible. But I have to be careful. My pattern is making it personal instead of like, oh, that content didn't perform. It's like, wow, no one wants to hear from me because I suck and my message is terrible. I might as well go get a job at Walmart. Yeah. Like that kind of egoic stuff comes up. So I have to, first of all, with all this stuff up in the air, I have to make it where it's make sure I'm not making it about me, because when it's in a personal attack on you, it's impossible to be creative. It's impossible to be like get downloads and whatever, or like to get like insights and things like that. But I would say in 2026, I'm literally throwing everything to the wall and seeing what sticks. I'm throwing more numbers at stuff than anything else. I'm creating more content than ever. Like I'm posting like on short form multiple times a day. We're dropping a bunch of YouTube stuff right now. Actually, I'm making 2026 my YouTube year. So like we're dropping 2 videos or 3 videos a week on YouTube right now.
Are you doing that yourself?
I have an editor that's helping me. So like basically we drop a podcast per week, which includes one YouTube episode. But now we're dropping 2 shorter videos per week as well. So all podcasts are like 45 minutes plus, whereas now we're doing YouTube twice a week, like 5 to 10 minute videos.
What are those 5 to 10 minute videos? Why not drop them as, because like Gary Vee or Alex Hormozi, for example, they'll record themselves at events and just take those little clips and make them episodes in their podcast. Do you
So I would,
is it similar content?
no. So it's these are complete talking head videos, just going much deeper around concepts. And because also I don't speak enough at events around what I teach, like the bread and butter of like the problems my ideal client struggles with, enough to like make that it's there.
Okay.
Like the closest would be like Jordan's podcast today, where like I'm going to see if I can rip all the audio from it, or the media from it and publish it and stuff. But like as a whole, I want also, like one of my biggest moves in YouTube that me and my mentors are working with is my goal is where when my ideal client finds my YouTube account, they're like, where has this guy been my whole life? And I book a call. That happens with my podcast. People find my podcast and the right person who is problem aware, solution aware, and ready to change. I've literally had people find my podcast, book a call, schedule same day, and close within the same 24 hours.
What are your numbers on the podcast right now?
Nothing crazy. Because if you also think about it, like my stuff is so niched, it's never going to be. I don't believe it's ever going to
hitting the max addressable market. You know, it's a niche of a niche of a niche.
Right. I think to all-time views we have like around in the 800,000s. But that's an all-time of all 400 episodes. But at the end of the day, if I have, let's say, 3,000 downloads on one episode, that's 3,000 people wanting to get their food noise solved.
Mm-hmm.
That is so dialed and specific. So I don't really care about huge numbers with it. But my thing is this, something that we found out over the course of 2025 is in content, my ideal client, I'm not, is actively looking to solve this problem. It's why I dominate, like on Spotify, I dominate the SEO food noise, binge eating, stress eating. I'm some of the first that pops up on those. And I've found, because the number one reason people go to short form is to be entertained and not to be educated. My stuff is not as entertaining in general. And I've tried to make it entertaining, but it's just the closest I get is my skits. But even still, sometimes those are hit or miss. So yes, I still need to be engaging and things like that. But I don't think my content that with my messaging is going to compete against from an entertainment value compared to all these other ones. So that's why we're going all in for 26 on these searchable platforms, because my ideal client is searching food noise. She is searching to solve binge eating, and she is actively, like, she's going on a walk. She's like, let me see if there's anything out there about food noise or whatever. So basically I'm capitalizing on that, where I'm still posting. I'm not prioritizing short form though at all right now. Right now, I'm trying to put a couple more scripted or bigger pieces on short form per week. But before, that's where all our leads were coming from. Whereas we're not doing, like, I'm putting all my efforts into longer form stuff. But then I'm still posting like multiple times every day, like on Instagram. But I don't care about the numbers at all. I'm literally like, if I have a thought, I record it. If I have a tangent or like the say the quiet thing out loud, or a thought process that comes up, I'm posting it, and with minimal editing. I'm talking about like
Selfie style.
Literally like pull out my phone, record my minute and a half of whatever, throw it into the edits app, and like make sure it's good, and then hit publish. And that's literally what my main focus is right now. Otherwise, everything is going towards longer form, making sure my automations are dialed in. And I've redone, like, my big email sequence. I literally just redid it with all brand new emails, changed the sequence up completely, because the old stopped performing as well. So between that and then how many times a week I'm writing, like I went from writing 5 days a week and I'm writing 3 days a week. And then how I'm positioning CTAs and all that, everything's completely different now. So.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's interesting how you approach content from, the different levels of the funnel. And it's good to know that you're doing kind of the same thing that, like, what we're trying to do this year, which is throw a bunch of stuff at the wall. And I mean, Mike's doing his 6 posts a day. I've probably, I mean, it's a lot for me. I'm doing 1 post a day across everything. But I think it's interesting that it seems like the pendulum has fully, even though I don't like it as much, the pendulum has swung fully back towards selfie style, just go. Less edits.
Well, but even at the same time, I've seen that like also other accounts that shows the other way. Like I think it's so I think things are so all over the place right now.
I think you have to do one or the other, because that's the other thing I've heard is don't try to do both.
I think it comes down to the message. I think messaging and packaging is two of the most important things ever. And as like even from people that I really trust and with their credibility with their content, a lot of it doesn't matter. They could have shitty lighting, shitty background, shitty everything, and in a car at 6 o'clock at night, because the message is good, it doesn't matter. I think people, truthfully, I think people are focusing on the wrong thing. I think people are more concerned with, should I film with a tripod, without a tripod, selfie style, or more? I don't think it matters. I think that what matters most is the message. And is the message good? And all the metric, like concise, feel aligned, feel convicted, authentic to all this stuff. That's at least what I'm observing. And even my stuff, like my videos, like don't do anything to brag about unless I'm putting a wig on. But at the same time, I had a client close recently and on her sales call, and I asked her, I go, what content hit for you? She's like, oh, you were in your car talking about whatever. And I go, that was one of my worst performing videos with the least amount of engagement. But of the 500 views, the one was a paying client. So I think for me, I'm more thinking about it through the lens of that. And then just building trust and building trust more than anything. And that from all angles, from like social proof, credibility, meeting them at their current level of awareness. A lot of people assume people's awareness are at different places. And then I just want to send someone somewhere where they can binge my content, preferably podcast or YouTube. So then they can just book a call.
Yeah.
So
what are your goals this year?
As far as
in general?
I mean, I'd still like to hit $1 million. Yeah, I would still love to do, I'd still love to do $1 million profit this year. I would like to make YouTube my dominant lead source, the YouTube and podcast, where like I could totally fuck off on Instagram and it wouldn't matter. A couple other big things are happening. I secured my TED Talk, so I'm doing that in May. So that was a big one.
Where's that at again?
Sienna. So however far that is from here.
Sienna, Texas. That's right.
Yeah, okay. Sienna. So I think Houston area.
Okay.
So doing the TED Talk in May. I'm speaking a lot this year. Speaking here in April at RCS.
Yep. So Mike will be there. Well, we will technically be there. I won't be there.
Yeah. So, but I'm speaking on emotional eating, which is my thing. And then like just did doing bigger stuff. Like I did like Jordan's podcast. The book is, I'm not sure of a date yet, but the book should be out this year. So that's,
forgot you were working on that.
Yeah. So
that's exciting.
Yeah. Especially the book and it's in the TED Talk in the same, like you're just going to search Dieting from the Inside Out and all my shit will pop up. So like, and then just continuing to grow and scale. I'd like to, I would like to have like, I'm trying to think like by the end of the year, I'd like to have, like 400 or 500 members or clients in DFIO, which would be pretty dope. And all of them at like $500 a pop. There's my MRR. So so there's a lot of stuff on the table.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm about to get a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and I think that'll happen this year, which would be pretty cool.
Nice.
Want to go on more trips with Shelby.
Yep.
Last year we aimed at a trip a quarter and we did it. And so I'd like to do something like that this year. So
that's awesome.
All around things are cooking. So.
Yeah. I have no doubts you hit them all, man. I have no doubts.
I do, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah. We'll get into more therapy after that.
Right.
Maybe we just switch it on you and talk about well, man, I appreciate your time. And especially, so we have been talking about doing this episode. We were going to do it virtually a few weeks back, and you're like, hey, man, I think I'm going to be literally like a month from now. You want to just push it and do it in person. So I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow we get to dive into a little bit more of my expertise, and we talk about that. So I get to
therapy for Jared.
Talk to you a little bit. Yeah, it'll be business therapy for Jared.
Right.
But we're excited to dive into everything tomorrow. And dude, I'm super thankful for you just as a friend, mentor in a lot of ways, and just everything that you do and put out in the world. So
appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you taking the time to be on here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Cool. We'll see you guys in the next episode.